The topic of quantum physics is one that has fascinated scientists and others for decades. On the surface, it may seem like a dry, abstract field of study, but scratch beneath the surface and you'll find that it has far-reaching implications for our understanding of the universe. Let's look at quantum physics to see if it holds evidence for God's existence. Christianity and atheism are not just different views about God, they are actually different views about reality as a whole. Each of these perspectives gives us different ideas as to what we should expect when we look closely at reality. Before looking at what quantum mechanics says about the existence of God, need to see what we should expect from both of these views of reality and then compare them to quantum mechanics to see which one is the better fit. Furthermore, we need to look at which direction quantum mechanics naturally tend to lead us when it is properly understood. From an atheistic perspective, the universe should have no beginning and no end. This is despite the second law of thermodynamics, but it was the standard atheistic position until they were dragged kicking and screaming by the cosmic background radiation into the idea that the universe does have a beginning. They simply had a number of workarounds to allow them to ignore the second law of thermodynamics, as they often do today with such things as abiogenesis. Even to this day, despite acceptance of the Big Bang cosmology, many atheists are still trying to find a way to get rid of a beginning. An atheistic perspective of reality would also tend to be completely mechanical and deterministic, much like classical physics. In other words, there should be no underlying unpredictability in reality. Particles should always behave as particles and waves should always behave as waves. Nothing we do should be able to change that. The only way our observations should have any effect is by interactions used to make the observation. However, in principle, reality should still be 100% deterministic and materialistic. From a biblical perspective, not only was the world supernaturally created, but it is ultimately controlled by God. That does not mean that there is not a regular functioning of the universe that is running on automatic. What it means is that God is both creator and the ultimate controlling force behind it all. This further means that we should expect built-in indeterministic uncertainty where God would be the ultimate determining factor. Furthermore, within the Bible we see God creating and controlling the world by the power of His Word, which of course is information. While quantum mechanics has definite rules, it is also highly indeterministic. One of its core principles, known as the uncertainty principle, illustrates this point. Furthermore, particle wave functions are waves of probabilistic properties, where these particles do not have definite properties until they are observed. The delayed choice quantum eraser experiment further illustrates this by eliminating any possibility that the collapsing of the wave function to a single being a result of interaction, because there is no interaction. The results of each part come exclusively from the information available about the path of the photon. In this experiment, whether or not you get particle or wave-like behavior depends entirely on whether or not we know the path the photon took, otherwise it takes both producing an interference pattern. This is just part of how quantum mechanics is more consistent with a biblical view of reality than an atheistic one. We have an indeterministic reality at its fundamental levels, the results of which are based on available information. As stated earlier, this is what we would expect from a universe created and controlled by God. There is a concept about quantum mechanics called digital physics which posits that the universe is fundamentally information. There are many forms of this, including the simulation hypothesis, but they are not the same. Ultimately, it results from the fact that the best way to understand quantum mechanics is to interpret it as evidence that our reality is fundamentally a programmed information system. If indeed the universe is a programmed information system as described by digital physics and suggested by quantum mechanics, then the existence of God would be a necessity. This is because if the universe is a programmed information system, then it would need a programmer and someone who is running the program. This programmer by definition would be God. This is based on the fact that the only way we know that such a system could come into existence is being programmed by the intelligent programmer. In conclusion, while calling quantum mechanics proof of the existence of God would be a little too much, calling it evidence for the existence of God would be a better way of phrasing it. The simple fact of the matter is that quantum mechanics is more consistent with a reality created and operated by God than an atheistic materialistic one.